Hello and welcome once again to the Waters and Stanton video channel. Today we're going to talk about the Carolina Windom. Now the Carolina Windom was sold as a commercial antenna for quite a few years, and we were the exclusive importer of the Carolina Windom until Radio Works closed down for no other reason than the owner, I think, wanted to retire. But it was a very popular antenna. There were various models, but it's an interesting antenna. And if we go back to probably the 1990s, when it was in its heyday, 1990 to 2000, it was a very widely used antenna because it was commercially available. But it goes back a lot further than that. It goes back to the days of the Windom Antenna, which was in the late 1920s. And the Windom Antenna is rather, by today's standards, rather strange antenna. It was a horizontal length of wire fed with another single length of wire, roughly about a third down its length. And the idea was that if you got all the measurements right, this antenna would work pretty well on more than one band. But the idea of a single wire feeder has always puzzled me, because quite clearly that feeder must have radiated. You can call it a feeder, but the fact is that it radiates. Now, the Carolina Windom is remarkably similar in some ways, but let's go sort of halfway between the Carolina Windom and the original Windom. The Windom that is most popular in the 40s, 50s, 60s was a Windom that's fed with feeder. It can either be open wire feeder, but I think coax feeder was the popular method of doing it, and feeding it a third of the way down. Now, why should you feed an antenna a third of the way down? Well, we know that the standard coax feed these days is 50 ohm. And if you feed a half-wave dipole in the centre, in other words you break it in the centre and feed it with a bit of coax cable, you won't get a perfect match, because the dipole is roughly 70 ohms in the centre, give or take. And I say give or take because it depends on how high or how low it is, but it's not too far removed from 50 ohm coax. So all being well, you'd probably get a VSWR of about 1.2, 1.3, something like that, which is more than acceptable. The problem is that that antenna will only work on one band. Well, that's not quite true actually. It will work on its third and fifth harmonics. In other words, it will work on its odd harmonics. But that's not really a lot of use to us in hand radio, because the only combination that really is of any interest using that harmonic relationship is the 40 metre dipole. In other words, a 7 megahertz dipole. The third harmonic of 7 megahertz is 21 megahertz. And that means to say that you'll get reasonable operation. I say reasonable because actually you'll find that the third harmonic, the actual resonant point, is somewhat outside of the 21 megahertz band. It's not too far removed to get a reasonable VSWR. And if you've got a 40 metre antenna up in the air and you try it on 21 megahertz or a 15 metre band, then you'll find that you get a reasonable match. You'll get a VSWR of about 2 to 1 or something like that, maybe a bit more, but it'll work. And it means to say that if you've got an internal antenna matching in your transceiver, it should match it. So you've got a dual band antenna. And I would venture to suggest that a 7 megahertz antenna and a 21 megahertz antenna really is not the most popular combinations, particularly as we know that the 15 metre band, as we drift down this sunspot cycle, won't be open for quite a few days at a time. Therefore, it's not a lot of use. Well, enter the Windom antenna. The Windom antenna takes a different approach. It feeds the horizontal wire about a third of the way down. Now I say about a third of the way down because it's not precise in terms of the actual. I'll try and remember below this video what the actual proportions is. It's roughly a third, but it's not precisely a third, and that does make a difference in terms of how it works. And we can also feed it on the 15 metre band, because the 15 metre band is the third harmonic of 7 megahertz. And it will also work on the 28 megahertz band or the 10 meter band, because again, we've got a harmonic relationship. So immediately we've got an antenna that works on 40, 20, 15 and 10 meters and is roughly 20 meters long, 66 feet in my money, but it's around about 20 meters long. In other words, it's resonant on the 40 meter band. But by feeding it a third of the way down, we end up with an antenna which covers 4 bands. Now, enter the Carolina Windom. The Carolina Windom antenna uses a technique which I covered several videos back, where you actually force the feeder cable to radiate. Now, why would you want the feeder cable to radiate? Well, the feeder cable comes down from the horizontal antenna in a vertical fashion. And we know that verticals tend to radiate low angle signals. The idea is that if you can make that feeder radiate in a controlled way, you'll not only have the traditional dipole radiation pattern, which is determined by the height above the ground, but probably is medium angle, you'll also get the benefit of a lower angle signal from the feeder. Now, there were 2 versions of the Carolina Windom. There was one that covered the 80 meter bands, in other words, it was twice as long, but it covered all the harmonic frequencies. Or there was the shorter one, which I'm talking about now, which covers the 40 meter to 40 meter, 20, 15 and 10. And the reason I'm talking about that one is because it's a sort of antenna you can get into a lot of gardens. If you choose the basic 40 meter version, in other words, the aerial that's 20 meters long, it means to say that you need a feeder length of 10 feet long. If you use the longer antenna, which covers 80 through to 10 meters, then you need to have a feeder length of 22 feet. Why those measurements? Well, to be honest, I don't know. I'm not so sure they are critical measurements, but nevertheless they are measurements that have been suggested. Whether it's to do with resonances, I don't know. Anyway, let's not worry too much about the actual length, other than the fact that we do need to follow what has been tried and tested. And if we take the 40 meter horizontal dipole, 20 meter long dipole, fed 1/3 of the way along with a 4-to-1 balun, we already know that we get a good match there. Then we attach 10 feet of 50 ohm coax cable, and at the end of that cable we put in an RF choke and then feed it with whatever cable that we need to get back to the shaft. What we've got is a dipole that will radiate RF from its horizontal section and also from the short vertical tail. The theory behind it is that it gives good low angle radiation as well as medium angle radiation. In other words, you get the best of both worlds. Now, quite clearly it is something of a compromise, but when we were selling this antenna it was very popular, and stations that used the antenna gave great reports about how good it was. I think the point about this antenna is that it will cover multi-bands and potentially probably give you some low angle radiation that you wouldn't otherwise get. So what about the walk bands? Well, the walk bands will work on this antenna, but it's a compromise. I think 17 meters works okay, as does 12 meters. 30 meters may be a bit iffy. But if you don't operate on 30 meters, then I think you'll find you'll get some reasonable performance on 17 meters and 12 meters simply by the help of your internal antenna tuner. So we've got an antenna here that we know covers 40, 20, 15 and 10, and it's certainly likely to give some reasonable performance on 17 and 12 meters. So by my calculation, that's a 6-band antenna. We've got 40, we've got 20, we've got 17, we've got 15, we've got 12 and we've got 10, yeah. 6-band antenna. So it's an antenna which I think is worth trying. So I put forward this as yet another historic antenna, an antenna that was once very popular. There's not so popular these days, primarily because you can't get it commercially. But I think because it's not commercially available, then people start to become unaware of it. And because it's quite an easy antenna to make. All you need is a 4:1 balun and some wire, and of course some coax cable. So there we are. Put it forward as an antenna which you might want to experiment with. As I said before, those that have used it have given some very good reports on it, so it might worth be going out in the garden when the weather's right and giving it a whirl. Now, as regards the RF choke, I always use a ferrite core 240-43 mix, and all you need to do is wind about 10 or 12 turns around the perimeter of the ferrite core, and that should give you adequate choke on the bands that you're designing for. If you're going to operate a larger version, in other words the 80 meter version, which will work on 80, 40, etc., etc., then you probably need some more turns on that, or stack two cores together. But other than that, it's quite an easy antenna to make. So in the meantime, thanks for your support on this channel, it's much appreciated. Thank you for your support at the shop, and also thank you for your support on all the things that we do, and your interest in all the things that we do. And we do support amateur radio in many ways. So thanks for your company on this video. Thank you once again for all you've done, and as usual, look forward to seeing you in the next video. Take care.